Hey everybody, welcome to church. We're so excited to have you. I'm Stephanie, I'm one of the online hosts. If you are looking for At the Movies series, you want to jump over to our website, fccc.ca. For copyright reasons, we have to air it over there. So please be encouraged, check that out live. But we are happy to have you here for You in 5 Years, talking all about Jesus and faith and where we want to see ourselves in 5 years with our spiritual growth. It is going to be an incredible morning. So we are happy to have you. Sit back and welcome to church.
Well, like Rowan said, we want to spend some time worshiping God together. We have a brand new song to sing together today. So learn it with us. When you do, sing it out. And let's worship God together. Enter his gates with thanks. Enter his courts with praise. Bring him a shout of joy. Sing of his endless fame. For the Lord is good and his love endures. His love endures forever. We remember this. We remember this. Oh, how good that it is to sing praise to the Lord. Oh, how great is the name above all names. From the rising of the morning sun to the setting of the same. Oh, how good that it is to sing praise. How good it is. How good it is. How good, rivers will clap their hands, mountains will lift their song, even the rocks cry out, and creation stands in awe of the one who was and the one who is and the one who reigns forever. And we remember this. Oh, we remember this. Oh, how good that it is to sing praise to the Lord. Oh, how great is the name above all names. From the rising of the morning sun to the setting of the same. Oh, how good that it is to sing praise. Go! How good it is. How good it is. Go on, sing again. And oh, how good that it is to sing praise to the Lord. Oh, how great is the name above all names. From the rising of the morning sun to the setting of the same. And with every breath inside our lungs, forever we will sing. Oh, how good that it is to sing praise. Sing again. And oh, how good that it is to sing praise. How good it is. How good it is. How good it is. God of the promise, God of the future, you see beginning and end. And God of the rescue, God of the breakthrough, how great is your faithfulness. seen, no ear has ever heard, no one could ever comprehend. Your word will be enough, your promise we will trust. Greater things are still ahead. You're not done yet. You're not done yet. God in my seeking, God in my dreaming, you put a song in my soul. God in the working, God I believe you do the impossible. You're not done yet. No eye has ever seen, no ears ever heard, no one could ever comprehend. Your word will be enough, your promise we will trust. Greater things are still ahead. You're not done yet. You're not done yet. You're not done yet. You're not done yet. 'Cause you're up to something right now. You're doing a new thing right now. God, let your glory come down. And don't hold back, don't hold back. Yes, you're up to something right now. You're doing a new thing right now. God, let your glory come down. Don't hold back, don't hold back. 'Cause you're moving mountains right now. You're breaking chains right now, right now. God, let your glory come down. Don't hold back, don't hold back. No eye has ever seen, no ears ever heard, no one could ever comprehend. Your word will be enough, your promise we will trust. Greater things are still ahead. You're not done yet. You're not done yet. No, you're not done yet. Oh, greater things are still ahead. You're not done yet.
Oh, that's such a powerful reminder this morning. Before you sit down, why don't you just turn and welcome someone to church today?
You know, there's one question I think that's run through, and I'm just going to say just about every one of our minds many times over the last 20 or 22 months now. And that is, as we've all slogged through this pandemic and endured the evolving restrictions and changes, I'm pretty sure every single one of us has asked one particular question many, many, many times. And it's the question, where is all of this going? Where is this all going? What are our lives going to look like this year? What are they going to look like next year? Is COVID going to change our lives forever? Where is this all going? And so it's no surprise that the pandemic has also spawned some new forms of identified anxiety in our world. Now, I was reading about this last week, and most of us already know about FOMO. FOMO is simply fear of missing out. And this has been around for a while, and this really took off with the explosion of social media. And so in social media, when that really became big, you could see in real time all of the really cool things that people in your life were doing. You could see in real times, you could see people, going to Mexico and being on the beach, and people in real time hanging out with their kids who are perfect, and people sitting there in a beautiful restaurant having a meal you wish you could have. All of these annoying pictures that started coming into your life, and you would start having regret, anxiety, fear of missing out. So I'm just going to ask, just for a little bit of honesty here, how many of you would say, I have had FOMO sometimes? Just put your hand up. Okay? I'm not going to talk about lying people today, but many of you admitted to this. I got to say, I'll be honest. I have sometimes FOMO. This is going to be a very hard admission for me to say. I actually have FOMO of Boston Bruins fans, Detroit Red Wings fans, Tampa Bay fans, even Habs fans, because they've all at least won a Stanley Cup in the last 50 years. I have FOMO about this. But there's actually two new conditions that have arisen during COVID, and I want you to see if you relate to either one of these. The first one is FOGO. FOGO. FOGO is the fear of going out. And this one is huge, and a lot of us actually relate to this. It is a thing. It really is. I'll meet people who sometimes will come in person to our church, and they'll say, I haven't been here in 18 or 20 months, and they say, this is my first time back in the building, and there's this little look in their eye that I'll see that says, I'm glad to be here, but I got to tell you, I'm really a little afraid. I'm not going to lie. And then if they show up the next week, they're all fine. But this thing about getting out of my house, FOGO, is actually a thing. Now, another one that actually doesn't get as much publicity, but it's kind of linked to it, is what's called FONO. FONO. FONO is fear of normal. It's the fear of normal. It's this desire that our life would actually not go back to what it was. It's this desire that life would stay the way it is, that my interactions with people, my more time at home, the slower pace, like lock us down forever. Well, maybe not that extreme. But there's this desire of people, there's this chunk of people say, no, I'm afraid of going back to that. And some of that I get. Now, we look at how our world has changed in the last couple of years, and we ask this question: where is this all going? And as understandable as this wondering is, even these anxieties that have come out about the coming years, we're starting right now a new series this year that's asking an even more important question that has profound relevance to every single one of us. And it is the question, and the question is, what is your life going to look like in 5 years? Where will you be? We're asking this question with respect to life's biggest factors like love and marriage and dollars and cents and friends and family and work and rest. And today we're asking this question about what really is the biggest defining factor in your life if you're a Christian, if you're a Jesus follower, and that's with respect to this whole area of Jesus and faith. Where are you going to be in 5 years? In one sentence, Jesus once described the comprehensive life change that he offers to people in this life. John chapter 10, verse 10, Jesus said, I have come that people might have life and have it abundantly. Now, that last phrase, abundantly, is translated different ways because this phrase means in all of its fullness. It means life to the full, life abundantly. There are many reasons why I became a pastor a little over 3 decades ago. Outside of the sense that God was calling me to this was the biggest reason I did it. But along with that, the thing that drove me into this the most was this underlying desire to help people enter into and experience this life in all of its fullness, in all of its abundance that knowing and following Jesus brings into a person's life. That it's the best thing that can happen to anybody in their life. Because along with the hope and the certainty of eternal life, of a place in the new heaven and the new earth, every aspect of this life is richer. The Holy Spirit infuses hope to replace hopelessness and gives strength when I feel weak. The Holy Spirit, with God's power, brings comfort when I'm broken, brings purpose into your life, brings, as the old hymn says, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. When Jesus is in your life, it affects your attitudes, a sense of peace, of the presence of God, relationships, perspective, experiences in your work and your rest. It affects everything. Life abundantly, life in all its fullness. And as I've watched people through the years, I've watched many people, literally thousands of people, take steps into this relationship with Jesus, this abundant life that he offers. I've seen thousands of people investigate and start and explore that life and start worshiping and start praying and opening themselves up to the teachings of Jesus and the Bible and taking steps of connecting to others, and faith starts growing. But then I've also noticed for many people, their faith starts to fizzle out at some point. They had this early joy, this early start that they experience, and then they regress. And then they end up back in LBJ, life before Jesus. A life before Jesus, on your own again. On your own, with your own power, just trying to figure out life, how to conquer your problems, on your own dealing with your guilt, on your own dealing with grief, on your own dealing with the grind of life. And so what I want to do is I want to talk to you today about you, whether you're an early follower of Jesus in your Christian journey, or, and I mean this, if you've been on a Christian path for decades. I want to ask you, in 5 years, where will Jesus and faith be in your life in 5 years? And I'm going to ask you, will it be over here or over here? Will it be over here? Will you be experiencing not a perfect faith, not a perfect life, but a growing experience of life in all its fullness, of peace and joy and presence of God and hope and purpose and assurance? Or will you find yourself here back on your own, scrapping through life, looking for hits of happiness, looking for little bits of relief and little wins, but real life, real peace, real joy, real comfort, real hope, real purpose is not there? Will your relationship with Jesus and the power of faith be stronger in your life in 5 years or weaker? And I want to say up front that there are some core patterns that we have taught on many times that will have a huge influence on where you are in 5 years in your relationship with Jesus. And these are patterns of prayer patterns and worship patterns and Bible reading patterns and being exposed to the teachings of the Bible at church, and serving patterns and using your gifts and interacting with others. Without these, your faith relationship with Jesus will slide and diminish and leave you where you don't want to be. But I'm not going to focus on these patterns this morning. I'm not going to focus on them. What I want to talk about is what actually undergirds these habits, these life patterns. I want to talk to you about these. There are two primary factors that will have a disproportionate influence on where your faith relationship with Jesus will be in 5 years. And these two factors are trust and connection. They're trust and connection. I want to talk to you about growing your trust and maintaining your connection. And so starting off, let's think about, what does it mean to grow your trust? Probably the clearest verses in the Bible on the trust factor of our lives and how it grows is found in a very famous 2 verses in Proverbs chapter 3. And I want to net these verses out in detail because they're so blindingly illustrated. They're actually so illustratively, and they give such clarity. This is what the Bible says. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all of your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. I want to start off by saying that one of the reasons that these verses in the Bible are so central is because it speaks to this most important thing in your life. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Now, at one level, this means placing your relationship with God, your relationship with Jesus, as the number one priority in your life. Trust the Lord with all your heart, at the center of your heart. Because sometimes we want to have our relationship with Jesus as like a wonderful extra, a great addition to our life, but not at the center. It's like, when you go out for dinner, like there's the main course and then there's the sides. The main course is going to be the steak, or it's going to be the salmon, or it's going to be the chicken. And then you got the sides. You got the broccoli or the carrots or the baked potato. Trusting the Lord with all your heart means at one level that Jesus is the main course. He's not a side. If Jesus is a nice extra to my life, but my life is primarily about my family or my career or my reputation or my achievements, in 5 years, you won't be any closer to life in all its fullness. Growing your trust in God at the center of your life is the most important thing in all of life. But here's the thing, it doesn't grow automatically. It doesn't. See, sometimes trusting God, sometimes believing in Him is actually relatively easy. Sometimes it is. I've watched 4 children be born into this world, 3 girls and a boy. And every single time, the experience has been so powerful, so emotional, that in that moment, all I could do is marvel. And in those moments, it was really, really easy for me to believe and trust in God in an incredible moment in life like that. It was very easy. But I have also stood with people over the gravesite of children whose lives were cut short by a disease or a tragic accident. And believing and trusting God is not nearly as easy in those moments. Or think about somebody who prayed all their life for an alcoholic father who was slowly killing himself and wreaking havoc on the lives of everybody around them, and the father never changed. That can make trusting God harder. Maybe you grew up in a church setting where there was a lot of hypocrisy. Maybe you grew up in a church setting where you were told and it was preached that any problems you have in life, whether it's financial or health or setbacks, happen because you didn't have enough faith. You grew up in that kind of environment. Learning to trust God is not easy. Or think about a young woman maybe who grew up being neglected by her mother or abandoned by her father or molested by an uncle. Learning how to trust God is not always an easy thing at all. I don't know where you are in all of this morning. Maybe the venture of learning to trust God has had lots of big hurdles to overcome, or maybe not so many. But I do know this learning how to trust God is the most important learning priority in all of life. And the reason is because it is the thing that connects you to God and helps you experience His presence and guidance and the hope of God in the highest of highs and in the lowest of lows and in everything in between. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Now, of course, this is unbelievably counterintuitive wisdom, isn't it? Because conventional wisdom of life is put your ultimate trust in yourself. You're the boss. Be the ultimate master of your life. This proverb says, your ultimate trust has to be in something much more reliable than yourself. It has to be in God. And the idea I want you to track with this is that your trust, your faith grows only by risk and experience. Risk and experience. You can't just wish, you can't just hope that your trust in God will grow. You can't just repeat a verse like this over and over and over again and somehow your trust in God will grow. See, it happens when in your heart you decide to act in ways that put that trust relationship to the test. And then it grows in very practical ways. Think about this. What do you do when you trust somebody? You take a risk. You always do. Could be a small one, could be a big thing. I go to a restaurant because you recommend it. And then I'm going to find out, was it a good restaurant or did I just waste my time? I read a book because you tell me it's good. I tell you a secret and then I see if you can be confidential. I invite you to be a partner in a business deal. Are you going to burn me? I ask you to be my friend. Are you going to betray me? I stand at an altar and I commit my life to you. Is that going to work out? It's that experience, that risk of trust. Because here's what happens. When I trust you, I take a little piece of myself, of my stuff, of my money, of my time, of my heart, and I put it into your hands. And then I'm vulnerable. And then you respond. And I find out whether or not you're trustworthy and dependable. I give you the gift of my trust, and you give me the gift of your faithfulness. And when that happens, trust grows deeper. And when trust deepens, the relationship deepens. This is the key. This is what it means to be a person. We were made to trust. And this is what the Bible is saying here about your relationship with God. The only way for your faith to grow, for you to experience this renewed closeness with God in your life, it happens in risk when you trust ultimately with your whole heart. And then it says this. It says, and lean not on your own understanding. Now, why does the Bible encourage us to trust God this way? It does because the reality is, we don't like to admit this, that the reality is our own internal intuitive sense of what is right and wrong and the best course to take often in our life, our intuitive sense in this is often flawed and unreliable. I've always been fascinated with airplanes and flying. And I've had some chances to fly with a friend of mine, a seasoned pilot, and what goes on in the cockpit has always been fascinating to me. And I'll never forget reading a number of years ago about a landmark research project called 178 Seconds to Live. And this whole study was about 20 pilots who were capable pilots in clear weather but had never received instrument training. And so each one of them was put into a flight simulator and instructed to do whatever they could to keep the airplane under control as it flew into thick, dark clouds and stormy weather. And the results of the study was that all 20 pilots crashed and killed themselves in the simulation setting within an average of 178 seconds. It took these seasoned pilots with skilled intuition less than 3 minutes to destroy themselves once they lost their visual points of reference. See, the problem with following our own instincts about what is best in situations is we have a very unreliable guidance system. It might feel right, but it's not always right at all. And what the proverb is saying here is it is saying use your understanding. It's saying don't throw your brain away, but it's saying don't lean on it. Don't rely on it as your sole and highest guiding instrument, because the reason is it will not get you through the clouds. You need someone whose guidance system is totally reliable. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and put your ultimate trust not on your own understanding, but on His wisdom, on His direction. And then it says, in all your ways, acknowledge Him. Now here's where it gets really practical. It says, in all your ways, acknowledge Him. Defer to His wisdom, His insight, His guidance. And when it says, in all your ways, what it means is in all your ways. Any area of life that we decide to manage without the benefit of God's wisdom, we're going to end up creating a problem. Any area in our life in which I put a no trespassing sign there, and I try to keep God out of that area, because this is what we all tend to want to do in our lives. Anytime we do that, it messes up not only our own lives, but usually the lives of people around us as well. Here's the big temptation. If the temptation is to look at some area of your life, maybe it's how you treat people who are different from you. Maybe it's how you treat people who are in a different religion than you. Maybe it's your business ethics. Maybe it's how you deal with your money. Maybe it's your choice of friends or your sexuality or your leisure time activities, whatever. And you say, look, I know all about your wisdom, God. I know what the Bible says about this. I know how your Spirit is prompting me, but the answer is no. Stay out of this one. I'll manage this one on my own. And what the Bible is doing here, the writer of the Proverbs pleads with us to be on a path that is seeking to align all our ways with His ways, all of them. And then the final phrase is, and when we do this, He will make your paths straight. Now don't misunderstand what this is saying. It's not saying God will, as a result, make us healthy, wealthy, skinny, and popular. It means that He will give our lives direction and focus and fulfillment, and He'll give you clarity and purpose as you follow His paths. And if that weren't enough, He'll give you something even better than that. He'll give you Himself. He'll give you this dynamic, intimate relationship with him that you were created for. And that only happens when trust is restored. And that is life in all its fullness. Trust, putting Jesus first and at the center of your heart, and growing that trust by taking risks and seeing God be faithful and following his direction. This is going to massively determine where your experience of Jesus and faith is going to be in 5 years. It's the first big factor. But there's one other factor that I have to mention. And the other factor is connection. It's trust and connection. And I want to talk to you about maintaining your connection. And what I mean by this is that this other thing that is going to determine where you are, how rich, how strong your relationship with Jesus will be in 5 years, is your connection to other Christians, your connection to Jesus' church. See, one of the biggest temptations for Jesus followers, especially in the culture we're living in, and especially in the time we're living in right now, is what I would call Jesus and me Christianity. Jesus and me Christianity. That my faith, my being a Christian, is about Jesus and me. The church is a nice extra. Church can support my Jesus and me Christianity, but it's an option. It's Jesus and me Christianity. And if you haven't felt this temptation already, you will. The temptation is to start thinking about your connection to your church family as optional. And there's all kinds of reasons why this can happen in a person's life. Maybe because you were hurt or disappointed by some Christians in your life. And this happens because Christians disappoint. We all at times disappoint others. I disappoint. Sometimes we get so hurt, we say, well, I can't do church. Maybe it's because you've noticed some Christians who are weird. True story. There's a lot of weird Christians. There are. There's a few in the room today. I know this. There really is. Maybe it's because you got into a new sport. Or maybe one of your kids got into competitive team, or you picked up a new hobby, or you got a new job and it conflicted with your church involvements, with worship or serving or a village that you're in. And you thought, you know what, it's not going to hurt too much. I can always pick up my church connection later. It's nice to have, but Jesus and me, we can carry on. And people generally think that this is going to be just temporary. I'll be okay. I'll keep my faith alive and growing. But inevitably, it doesn't work out that way. For Jesus, for Paul, all through the Bible, a relationship with Jesus is bound up together with your relationship with his family, with the church. It says it so clearly in so many areas of the Bible. I love this one. 1 John 5, verse 1. It says, everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has become a child of God. And everyone who loves the Father loves his children too. There are two things you can't do alone. You can't be married alone, and you can't be a Christian alone. You can't. Love God, love his children. The Bible has the images the Bible has for the church are so profound. The body of Christ, the bride, the treasured bride of Jesus. And without an ongoing vital connection to Jesus' community, people lose faith. They just do. There's the old Zambian proverb that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. If you want to run far, run together. So insightful. Here's the truth. Your life, your relationship with God is not a 50-yard dash. It is a marathon. And if you want to run far, if you want to get there, the only way is staying connected to Jesus' family in your life. You know, here's something I've noticed during COVID. COVID has had an effect on two different groups of people within churches, and I would say within Forest City Community Church as well. Two different groups. The first group is not surprising. Some less connected, less grounded Christians have stumbled and lost connection. They've just drifted, they've disconnected, and their faith is struggling, and 5 years ahead doesn't look very promising for them if they don't get reconnected at some point. But the other group of people is very surprising. And that's people with a long Christian story, with many years of being a Christian, of serving, of connecting, and they would consider themselves to be mature Christians. But I've seen some of them also withdraw significantly and say, you know what, I'm fine with limited connection to the church. I'm fine actually with maybe even very little. Like I'll watch a little bit, maybe online if it works out for me, but all of this is an option. Jesus and me are fine on our own. And what this COVID is revealing is for many of them, they're showing themselves to be not mature at all. Because mature, grounded Christians have always understood that Jesus and being connected to him and his church is a package deal. And the 5-year prospect for some of these folks isn't very good. Now, I used this illustration last spring, and I'll do it again because it's so remarkably insightful. I'll never forget reading years ago about a young man who was really struggling, and he had come to faith in Jesus, but he found himself drifting away and drifting in doubts and difficulties and losing his faith. And so he went to see this older Christian mentor, this older man. And he sat by the fire in this man's house together, and as the younger guy told the older man about what was going on in his life, the older man, he actually didn't say anything. He just listened. And as he was listening, he went over to the fire and he took a red hot coal, and with tongs he took it out of the fire and he put it on the stone away from the rest of the fire. And as the young man continued talking on about his struggles and his doubts and his difficulties, the man just allowed that coal to go from red hot to dark. I mean, just black, dark. And then after a little while, he got the tongs again and he put that coal back into the fire. And within a few minutes, the coal was red hot again. And this older Christian man didn't have to say anything. And the young man left knowing exactly why his faith had gone flat. Because the lifeblood of a Jesus-centered, life in all of its fullness faith is deep connection to other Christians. You can't get there without it. So maintain your connection. Make it one of your life's biggest priorities. Whether right now it's still online or whether it's in person, have faith conversations. Be connected in a village. Be connected serving when you can. It is indispensable in staying anchored to Jesus' life in all of its fullness. You know, the music team is going to sing this closing song, but let me just say this. This is my prayer for you. This is my prayer for every single one of you. Every one of you, whether you're just starting out, as I know a lot of people in this church that we always reach are just starting out in your faith journey, or whether you've been part of Forest City Community Church for many, many years, this is my prayer for you, because my calling, my motivation for ministry hasn't changed over the decades. To help people experience Jesus and his grace and his peace and his hope and his presence and his forgiveness and his life, his power, his life in all of its fullness. There's nothing like it. And I want you to know more of this life in all its fullness in 5 years than you know today. I want you to be thriving and still growing and still trusting. And whether COVID is still here or not, and whether FOMO or FOGO or FONO is infecting our world and our lives or not, your life will be anchored and experiencing Jesus' life in all its fullness as your trust in him grows and your connection to his family stays strong.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We just want to encourage you, if possible, if you're around, we'd love to invite you to Alpha starting 10, 20, 30. So if you're in your 20s or 30s, we want to encourage you to check out this 10-week course. It is truly life-changing, such a great way to start off this new year. So be encouraged to check that out, and we will see you next week.